Hello and welcome back to Rage Gaming and more Nightreign. Today we're talking more interesting, weird or just useful things you might not have known about, so let's get straight into it. Beginning with the fact that we're about to go in to the next lineup of Everdark bosses. With that also on July 30th we have the patch 1.02. This, as we currently know, introduces the long-awaited duos mode at long last, but also other updates. The main feature that they've shown us here is the much improved relic filter system. We've only had two quick looks at it with these images. We're going to be able to way more specific select effects. So you can see from this general list, you're able to focus on anything from damage negation, the sorceries and incantations, character skills, ultimate arts, attack power, attributes, actions. And then we have the starting armaments, whether that's, say, the skill or Ash of War, and then the imbuement, so like if it's got fire on it to start with, it's going to be really nice. And then we can get into the specifics of here's all the possible attack power related relic lines that exist in the game and filtering by them. Not only is this going to be a useful thing for the filtering purposes, but to see what's actually possible and maybe consider like what would an ideal relic look like for you. And while that's definitely all cool and definitely useful, do be wary that this is going to be a patch that's say 1.02 rather than like 1.015 or something. You know, minor patches. So there may be some notable changes to game balance, which could maybe change the meta routes, choices, the pathing that we've all been doing. We'll be covering and discussing it all at the time, and so I hope there's some shifts like that, because it would be good for the game. Now let's talk bosses and useful things to know for them, starting with a pretty big one with Augur, who at some point soon will have its hard mode version. If you're stuck as a group of melees and it's just flying around and you can't do damage for a big chunk of time, it's important to know that you can attack the tentacles that are coming out of the ground, the worm guys, that will then send missiles to deal some damage. But also, during later phases, you're going to start seeing jellyfish fly at you. If you attack them, they also die and send missiles that hit Augur. So there are things you can do to deal damage even while he's in the sky if you don't have usual ranged attacks. But the thing that I've been wanting to talk about for ages is this ridiculous clip on Reddit from Shintaro, who during phase 2 dealt with that big wave spawn of jellyfish, and in response, as Executor, they transformed into the wolf form and started doing the AoE roar, instantly killing every single jellyfish that was spawning repeatedly as Augur just dropped them like bombs off. This then spawned a ton of the missiles that then would go hit Augur, and while no one needed to do anything else, all those missiles were flying at Augur, dealing big ticking damage, ultimately killing it. So obviously it's a fantastic way to deal burst to Augur, pretty funny to look at, but if you have anything that's going to work in like AoE, kind of like that roar, it's going to be absolutely insanely effective during that part. And these jellyfish spawn in this way during phase 2, which is where we're going to start with the new version of Augur. So it could be a fantastic way to open the fight. Definitely something to think about. Now next, in terms of boss mechanics you can deal with, this won't be for a while to be ultra useful because it's to do with Hjolster, but he has two kind of big super moves. One where he cuts that tear into the world and then slams down, and then another one where, you know, you're already past that part and he's doing this combo and it results in a big explosion. Now for the world tear slam explosion, it's actually one that you can physically stand under and avoid the damage of, letting you go in and deal some good DPS. All you need to do is target him and move close to him, not directly under him, but say just so he's at the top of your screen. Then as he slams down, you could just stand there. You don't even have to dodge or anything. Imagine it's just sort of like a safety circle around him. You don't want to be at the point of contact where he lands, you want to be near to it in that safe area. It's something that I've been doing, the rare Hjolster runs I've been doing ever since the Everdark started happening. But there's also his other super slam move that he does during this second phase. It's not after the world tear, but after a combo where he sort of charges the weapon up in whatever ailment element that he currently has, does a nasty slash, and then explosions occur after that. Then you get a combo of attacks that also cause explosions. Then he hangs in the air and slams down. You can do the very same thing by positioning yourself relatively close and under him, but not right under him. And then there's this sort of safety circle in a circle around him at the landing point. And so you can use these tricks for both of those moves. This should be pretty damn useful when we finally get to the Everdark version of this boss. There's another useful thing for Hjolster though when we do eventually get to that. When you're transitioning between phase 1 and 2, you can just actually attack his empty husk while it sits there. The reason you want to do this is to build up damage because it still has a hitbox. So by dealing damage you build up ultimate art charge. And so why not help recharge your ultimate before he transforms? Or you could do other things like build up successive attacks. If you have anything like healing on attack or generating FP, there's a moment where you absolutely can attack him, so probably should. Here's just a funny PSA for, say, hard mode Adele when that eventually comes back again in the future. Be aware that during the phase where it's spawning the tornado, you get the big purple lightning, you're running away from that, you're going to go back in with the Spirit Springs, that the lightning strikes will still occur. And if they strike in the Spirit Spring, they seem to be a perfect cylinder all the way up into the sky, like the spring itself. So, as we see by this player, not one, but 2 of these lightning strikes hit during the Spirit Spring animation, knocking them out of the air the first time and downing them on the second one. Kind of BS, but something important to sort of look out for in the future, because you don't want that to happen to you. Now, a couple things to do with the Shifting Earth events, just to further enhance your experience with them. Here's a big one that I'm pretty excited to talk about. It's the fact that there's these ice crystals all around the mountaintops. A lot of people now consider the mountaintops to be generally the worst Shifting Earth for the value you get out of it. Obviously, if you're dealing with a dragon final boss like Adele, then it has a lot more value. But there is something pretty interesting about these Shifting Earths, and it's the fact that they have that chance of dropping purples and legendary items, and items in general that are tied to their theme. But as we've discussed in this series before, there's also higher legendary chance here based on the general experience of the player base. What's particularly potent about mountaintops though is the extra loot that exists here at marked locations. There's these kind of bluish crystal outcrops that are all over the place. I think there's around 20 around that location. Each one of these spawns multiple drops. If you have increased item discovery thanks to, say, Ionized passive, or by popping a silver foot, or maybe an item passive. You can obviously get extra drops from these as well, like you're opening a chest. Each one of these seems to drop themed drops for the mountaintops. So again, special ashes of war, potent spells, incantations. You might not always get like a purple, but I often do. And in my experience, these seem to have that higher legendary chance, where each time I've just run around picking these up, it's been where I've kind of found a legendary. So if you are unaware about the mountaintops, make sure while you're running around, you keep your eye out for those ice crystals and go loot them. There's a very high chance you're going to get a useful item, a purple, or maybe a legendary. And while this is a general rule in Shifting Earths, particularly in the mountaintops where you've got these specific crystal locations, it seems like an intentional thing. Next for Shifting Earth, I want to talk about the Rotten Woods and how the powers are usually in 3 set locations. You got one at the southern point, you got one slightly to the southwest of that, so there's 2 kind of just to the left of the fort, pretty close to it. And the furthest one is more towards the eastern point of the Rotten Woods. These special trees have the power within them. 1 of 3 will have it. This is denoted by the glowing golden power there, of course. So, if you do what I'm doing here and take a flight path, you can actually see the 3 locations from above as it goes kind of through the center of the thing. Not only is this a great way to get, say, to the fort or to the bosses that you're looking for, but from above you can literally see the golden glow. So you can see as I go by, I'm looking at the one on the eastern side and I see the spawn tree there where the power could be, and I see that it's not there. So we continue on and I look at the one towards the southwest and I see that it's not there, which means it must be at the furthest southern one. And sure enough, it was. So this is an incredibly quick way to check where the spawns are. If you're ever doing Rotten Woods, try to plan to come from the northern side where there's going to be a flight path that takes you over. As another quick one, I want to show you this clip from a bit ago from Gallagher and Joya showing the wilder skip into Noclatio. Basically, you can use the claw shot and then jump to get added mobility, like slingshotting yourself forward. I think we all know that. Using this, you can sling yourself into the wall of Noclatio from the northern western side where you're up higher and you can kind of climb onto the side of the wall. This is something we've been doing with Raider. On this side of the map, you can get to the edge of it, spawn a boulder and jump across with the whole team. Well, Wilder doesn't need any of that thanks to his ridiculous movement. This clip continues to show just how effective that is, allowing him to bypass a massive section of this side of the city entirely, getting up high by doing roof jump skips, which is pretty incredible. What's cool about this is Wilder can enter the city from a lot more locations than specifically that boulder jump with Raider. Because you have a lot more distance, you just need to slam yourself into the side of the wall and climb up. It needs to be done on the northern western side where you can actually be high enough for that. But yeah, Wilder movement's incredible, and anything that encourages and rewards that more, I want to see. Alright, now just a couple quick ones to end us off. I saw this clip yesterday on Reddit by Planet of the Grapes where they were invaded by a falling star beast. And this is funny because I remember seeing this event in the original trailer for Nightreign, and now that I think about it and having watched this clip, this has literally never happened to me. I have never seen this event. And not only that, was this poor player directly hit by it. Thankfully, it doesn't seem to do that much damage. They were only like level 5 at the time, so not that scary. But be aware that there are some incredibly rare events like this one. It occurred to me that, you know, I've seen one of those walking mausoleums, and it let me dupe a weapon like they do in the original game. It wasn't walking though, it was sort of just still. And that is the only time that I've seen that event in all of Nightreign. So I don't know why these things are so unbelievably rare, and I hope they make them way more common because they make the runs a bit more interesting and varied. Last thing I want to quickly mention is this funny thing that was posted by Tony Chung on the Nightreign Reddit, where they had this bug with the merchant. Turns out the merchants still have their bright clothing as normal. It's just these characters and NPCs that are in Nightreign, they put this kind of ghostly filter overlaid them, as you can see. I don't know why they did that, just to separate them from normal Elden Ring maybe. But it turns out they still have the same clothing, it's just being covered. So this player, I guess, had a glitch where that was gone, and they got to look at the merchant as normal. It does make me wonder because there were a bunch of different colors for the merchants, like white, green, and yellow, as well as this red, as people were calling Santa in this one. I wonder if it's that specific merchant Calais, or it's just one of the RNG colors. But yeah, for now, that's everything I wanted to discuss for this episode. Next time, we'll be back to cover more of the hard mode Everdark bosses and some interesting things and useful tips around that. But I hope this was still interesting and useful this time around. If you guys have anything you'd like to add to today's topics or anything else to include in the series, let us know in the comments. But for now, I've been Hollow, you've been you. Thanks for watching.
Josh, Cotton, and Hollow with the videos, dropping the humor like a hammer on your tippy toes, bringing entertainment on a daily arrangement to take our insanity and turn it into entertainment. Yes, I said entertainment twice, to reiterate that it is nice to look into your faces on a mostly daily basis when you let us in your homes to make the whole world a stage. Goodbye.